things. We let love give us wings. It's the key, it's free, it's for you and me. You and me. So let's discover love's great wonder. Let's discover the spell we are under. Love. With Mililli. Love. Hello, I'm Merlin Mililli. Welcome to the Love Show, where we grapple with the question, what is love? Today's show asks, is love atonement? So is love atonement? Can we make up for our wrongdoings? Is making amends love? Let's find out. This show will be publicized on Yom Kippur this year, 2019. So, happy Yom Kippur. In Judaism, Yom Kippur is the holiest day of their year, and it is the day of atonement. It's all about atonement. For the Jewish, atonement, reparation, making amends, all about atonement. But is atonement love? And I'm not talking about the movie, though the movie is about atonement. I'm talking about making amends for wrongdoing. The Jewish make this their holiest day of the year. So does that make atonement their holiest act? If it's that holy, doesn't it have to be love? Another love show, perhaps. Atonement is apparently holy, or makes one holy, supposedly. In season 1, we did a show on forgiveness. We found forgiveness to be love. Is atonement forgiveness? Well, forgiveness, I guess, is the best case scenario for atonement. In the 12-step program for alcoholics, 2 steps of the 12 involve atonement. One of them is, I quote, make a list of persons we had harmed and become willing to make amends to them all. Another is make direct amends to such people whenever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. I suppose forgiveness is the other side of this, though we must also forgive ourselves. This is often the part of atonement that everyone forgets. And is often the love everyone forgets. Self-love. And I'm not talking about hubris or pride or ego. I'm talking about loving yourself, which includes forgiving yourself, making amends with oneself. We can often be our worst critics, our own worst critics. Though some people seem to just sail through life with no love for oneself or others or atonement or consequences, that is not love. I don't know what that is. Ego, I guess. But it's not love. Quite the opposite, actually. Though a person can appear egotistical, and full of themselves, the problem can actually stem, and I find it usually does, from deep-seated self-loathing. If we've done wrong and we know it, if we love ourselves and those around us, we need to make those wrongs right. Even if we only did wrong to ourselves, one must first love oneself. And as we found in our self-love episode, one needs to be able to be lovable, which means we can't just run around hurting everyone, including ourselves, and expecting them to love us. That is not being a lovable person to anyone. The Druids and the Celts have a very old saying. It's so old there's a ye in it. But it's do ye no harm. It's a creed of ours, I guess. I consider myself a Druid. But we do not really have atonement rituals or atonement rules. We just seek not to do wrong in the first place. I tried to make it my job, in a sense, because of this do ye no harm creed. I tried to heal instead of harm. But realistically, that is setting a very high bar. I guess religions like Judaism and Catholicism just assume everyone is doing wrong. And let's be real, most people are. Catholicism has penance. Penance is what Catholics go to confession for. To confess their sins to their priest. It's where you see the little screen and forgive me, Father, for I have sinned. People go into the little confessional. Probably seen it in movies if you're not Catholic. I was raised Catholic. And the priest gives them penance, which is atonement. It's supposed to be atonement. It's usually in the form of Hail Marys and Our Fathers and go and be in peace or whatever. And so Catholics mostly want you to pray for atonement and forgiveness from God. But that only makes amends with God, which is good. I mean, in the end, I suppose that you and God. But Judaism calls for making wrongs right in a more direct way, as do the alcoholics. I think atonement is an important part of love. But when we have done wrong and we have done it on purpose, atonement is the loving thing to do. To just proceed with no remorse is, well, psychotic. Excuse me. But also not love. We all seem to know instinctively right from wrong. Most people know that hurting others is wrong. Why do we do wrong on purpose so much anyway? Even though we know it's wrong. What makes us such dark creatures? Speaking of darkness, it's October. Happy October. And for the rest of October, we will be exploring the darker side of love. Sorry, I just wanted to do that. Anyway, so, oh, well, I can keep it on. Wait for it. So, the new shows will be exploring the darker side of love, so check those new shows out. Next week we will ask, can love be manipulated? And then the following week we will ask, is love a spiritual thing? And then, finally, we will ask, is love horrifying? That's our Halloween episode, is love horrifying? I love Halloween. I don't feel love has to be all pink and fluffy all the time. And love is quite scary to some people. Atonement can be just as frightening. Remember Atonement? It's a show about atonement. But if it wasn't frightening, the 12 steps would not include the little disclaimer, except when to do so would injure them or others. So if making amends will injure someone, anyone, one should not make amends? How can you know, really? I mean, till you tell someone how you wronged them, what the reaction is going to be. I mean, we have laws and penalties. If you broke the law and went to the police to confess, you might make a decent guess based on recommended sentences and such about what their reaction is going to be. But what about something that's like wrong, but it's not against the law? Like adultery, for instance. It isn't against the law in most places. But who's to say how anyone would react when you tell your spouse that you've been unfaithful? How do you know how they're going to react? Who really knows? And is it ever good? I don't think it's ever really a good reaction. But is it better to continue on like nothing ever happened? It's kind of like when someone dies and say they've been in the hospital for a long time and doctors gave them a week or a year or whatever and you prepare yourself, and then the day finally comes and they pass, no matter how much you think you've prepared yourself for it, you're not prepared. No one's ever prepared. You still have to grieve. Does adultery kill marriage? Yes, I think so. I don't think anyone ultimately reacts well to that kind of atonement, and it probably ends in divorce. But that can be loving as well, in its own way. My parents, for instance, their divorce was love. Their divorce was the most loving thing my parents ever did for me. Because the fighting was hell. Us kids would often be trapped in the middle of these horrible fights, too, between my two parents. And when they divorced, there was peace. At last. Albeit temporary peace. But peace nonetheless. We found it in our Is Love the Path to Peace episode that yes, love is the path to peace. I definitely think atonement is a path to peace. Is it the path to peace? Is atonement love? Yes, I think that it is. Even if it causes a divorce, it is still love. If we've done wrong, we should not be afraid of the karmic consequences. We should fess up and then carry on and try to do ye no harm in the future. We saw in our self-love episode that one must love oneself before we can love anyone else. Excuse me. So self-loathing has to go. It's gotta go. How do you get rid of your self-loathing? How can you best love yourself? With atonement. How can you forgive yourself? With atonement. Is atonement love? Yes. Yes, it is. Is love always all positive? Is there such a thing as tough love? More love shows? None of us is perfect. Even if we strive to be, we all make mistakes. We all mess things up from time to time. I don't think it matters that much that we make mistakes, or really that we do wrong. In the grand scheme of things, what really seems to matter is making those wrongs right. So get out there and make amends. Because friends, love is atonement. Love with Mililli. Love. Thanks for watching. I love you. Get out there and love.